I wish this marriage never happened. If it were up to us, we'd shut it down right now. That was the groom's father, loud, cold, with a smirk on his face that made me want to snap the mic out of his hand and shove it into his overpriced. He turned toward me and my sister, yes, the bride, and added, "You're beneath us." The whole wedding hall froze. My little sister, standing right there in her white dress, her hands shaking, mascara running down her cheeks. And that's when I knew. This wasn't just some passive-aggressive toast. This was a full-blown ambush, planned to humiliate her. But he didn't know who I was, not yet. Let me backtrack 30 seconds. My name's Alex Carter. I'm 32, single, and I run a small but damn good food truck in Brooklyn, Carter's Cravings. I'm no millionaire, but my garlic fried chicken has been featured on a few foodie blogs. And let's just say, I don't need to clip coupons anymore. My sister? Her name's Megan. She's 6 years younger than me and my whole damn heart. We've been through hell together. Lost our parents in a highway pileup when I was in college. I dropped out, took over Dad's busted food cart, and raised Megan the best I could. Fast forward to last Saturday, Megan's wedding day, a beautiful rooftop ceremony in Soho, nothing too crazy, just close friends and family. Or so we thought. Enter Richard Langston, father of the Groom, CEO of Langston Foods Inc., and apparently a raging narcissist with a 1980s James Bond villain complex. I should have known something was off when he strutted in with a folded speech the size of a CVS receipt. But I held my tongue. For Megan. Then he grabbed the mic. He started slow. Talked about family legacy, corporate succession, how proud he was of his son, Jason, my now brother-in-law, and how their family had built an empire from scratch. Okay, cool, clap, clap. Then the tone shifted, like a cold wind slicing through July heat. We come from achievement, legacy, generations of excellence, he said, eyeballing Megan like she was a stain on a silk shirt. Whereas the bride comes from a lunch truck, raised by a dropout brother selling greasy food on the corner. Dead silence. Megan's lip trembled. Jason looked like he was about to implode. I'm just being honest, Richard added with that fake sympathy tone. My wife and I begged Jason to reconsider, but love is blind, I suppose. That's when I stood up. I could feel my fists curling, my jaw clenching. My whole body was screaming, do something. But I didn't rush. I walked up slowly, real slow. And when he finished his venom-filled monologue and dropped his stupid speech letter on the head table like it was some divine scripture, I picked it up. I'll take it from here, I said. The MC looked confused. Jason's mom gasped. And Richard? He narrowed his eyes. And who are you? He spat. I smiled. Alex Carter, Megan's brother, and the man who turned Carter's Cravings into one of the top-rated food trucks in Brooklyn. You could feel the shift in the room, like someone opened a window and let in fresh air. I unfolded the letter he had just dropped on the table and raised it to the crowd. You know they say handwriting reveals the soul, I said, eyeing Richard. And this letter? It tells me your soul is just as ugly as your manners. Someone choked on their mimosa. Megan looked up, eyes wide. Jason was grinning now, just a little. Richard stepped toward me, furious. This is my son's wedding. You don't get to hijack it. No, I said, calm as stone. You hijacked it, I'm just giving it back. The room was dead silent, no music, no clinking glasses, just hearts pounding. I turned to the guests. Megan and I lost our parents when she was 12. I gave up my college degree, my life, to raise her and keep our family food cart alive. That cart? It's now a business. It supports us, employs others, and feeds hundreds every week. So when you look at Megan, you don't see someone beneath you. You see someone stronger than you'll ever be. The room erupted. Clapping, cheering. Even the DJ forgot to fade in the music. Megan ran into my arms, sobbing. But the best part, that smug CEO just stood there, white as a ghost, because in that moment the power shifted and he knew it. The applause still echoed in my ears when I stepped away from the mic, heart racing like I'd just run a marathon through fire. Megan clung to me, trembling, her mascara-streaked cheeks buried in my shoulder. Thank you, she whispered. But the show wasn't over yet. Richard Langston stormed toward me, his face twisted like he'd swallowed a lemon. He looked me up and down, probably for the first time really seeing me. You, he hissed. You're the food truck guy. I raised an eyebrow. The successful food truck guy, yeah. That's when it clicked. His eyes flickered like an old TV trying to tune in. He'd been to Carter's Cravings. Not once, not twice, but multiple times, always in a suit, sunglasses, never introducing himself. Just ordering the fried chicken sandwich and nodding like he was royalty. He had no clue the guy flipping the chicken behind the counter was the same man standing in front of him now, publicly torching his ego. I knew the name Carter sounded. Familiar? He muttered. You were the one we sent the proposal to. Bingo. A few weeks back, some big shot exec from Langston Foods had emailed me a business proposal, wanted to franchise my recipes, mass-produce my fried chicken line, slap my name on frozen boxes in every grocery store from New York to LA. I hadn't signed anything yet. I was still thinking it over. But now the decision was real easy. I was considering your offer, I said, loud enough for half the wedding to hear. But after today, after watching you publicly try to destroy my sister on her wedding, I wouldn't sell you a napkin. His jaw clenched so hard I thought it might snap. You arrogant little, do you have any idea how much money we've sunk into prepping that deal? I don't care if you already built the factories. I snapped. You humiliated my family in front of everyone. There's no contract, no deal. Go mass produce someone else's recipe. His face turned fire engine red. We've already printed packaging. We've redesigned 6 of our stores. You can't back out now. You should have thought of that before you opened your mouth. That's when Jason, Richard's own son, the groom, stood up, calm but furious, and said the 6 words that detonated the entire room. Dad, we're done. I'm cutting ties. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Richard spun around, stunned. Jason, don't be dramatic. No, Jason said, his voice firm. You broke every promise you made to me. You swore you'd accept Megan. You said you'd civil. Instead, you used our wedding as your personal soapbox. Son, listen to me. I am not your son anymore. Boom. Silence again. A different kind this time. The kind that hits deep. I'm taking Megan's last name, Jason added. We're starting our own family, and you're not a part of it. Richard stumbled back like he'd been punched. His wife, Jason's mom, covered her face with her hands, sobbing into her silk gloves. He tried to save face, muttering something about lawyers and damage control, but nobody was listening anymore. People were getting up from their seats, walking away, murmuring things like disgraceful and serves him right. And just like that, the big man in the room became the loneliest one in it. After the ceremony, Megan and Jason slipped out quietly, while the guests swarmed me like I was a damn hero. Dude, that speech? Legendary. I'd have paid to watch that takedown live. My mom's still crying. She said it was like a Hallmark movie with teeth. I laughed, but I was exhausted. Every bone in my body felt heavy, like years of pain, grief, pride, and love had just come crashing down all at once. As I packed up my camera gear, someone tapped my shoulder. It was Richard. He looked smaller now, older, defeated. I didn't know you were Carter, he said quietly. Didn't matter who I was. You still would have tried to bury my sister. He looked at the ground, ashamed. You don't understand, I've worked so hard to build a legacy, to protect it. Then maybe you should have started by protecting your son's happiness. Silence. Look, he said, voice trembling. The frozen chicken line, it was your recipe. We were going to market it nationwide. It's already been approved by investors. I crossed my arms, and he looked up. Please reconsider, we need this. I leaned in close enough for him to smell the truth. Your problem, Mr. Langston, is you think money buys forgiveness. But I learned a long time ago, what really matters is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And then I walked away. I didn't look back when I walked away from Richard Langston. Didn't need to. I'd already won. But deep down, I knew the fallout was just beginning. The next morning, I woke up to a string of texts and missed calls. Jason sent me a simple message. Thank you, Alex, for everything. Megan sent a photo, her and Jason in sweats eating leftover wedding cake in their tiny new apartment. Her eyes were puffy from crying, but she was smiling. And then came the email. Langston Foods Legal. Department. Notice of urgent contractual review. Immediate action required. They were trying to scare me. Maybe they assumed I was just a guy with a spatula and a dream, not someone who'd spent the last decade keeping his parents' legacy alive through recession, rent hikes, and food truck fires. I forwarded the email to my buddy Rico. He's a food business consultant and part-time shark in khakis. His reply, they've got nothing. Let them sweat. So I did. Instead of replying, I put on my apron and went to work. That Monday, we had a line stretching down the block. People showed up asking, is this the place from the wedding story? Word had spread like wildfire. Someone had filmed my speech and thrown it up on TikTok. It had over 4.2 million views by lunchtime. And suddenly, Carter's Cravings wasn't just a local secret anymore. It was a movement. People brought their kids, tourists stopped by. A woman from Chicago drove 6 hours just to try the garlic fried chicken. I knew this moment wouldn't last forever. Viral fame fades. But momentum? That I could build on. Megan and Jason stopped by around 3 p.m. Megan still wore her wedding nails, chipped from unpacking boxes. Jason had this whole new energy to him, relieved, confident, like he'd finally taken off a 200-pound backpack. "You sure you're okay?" I asked, handing him a soda. Jason nodded. Cutting ties wasn't easy, but it was right. Megan smiled. "We're opening a new chapter. Together." I reached into the register and pulled out a small envelope. "Here," I said. "Your wedding gift." Jason opened it and his jaw dropped. "You're giving us part of the business?" "Not just part," I said. "I want you to help run it. Megan's been here since day one. Now, it's your turn too." Jason's eyes watered. Megan hugged me so hard she nearly knocked the fryer basket over. That night, we sat on folding chairs behind the truck, drinking lukewarm beers and eating cold rice bowls. It was perfect. Then my phone buzzed again. Unknown number, New York area code. I almost ignored it, but something told me to pick up. "Hello?" A woman's voice, calm, measured. "Mr. Carter. My name is Elise Monroe. I'm with Food Star Network. I'd love to discuss an opportunity for a streaming series featuring your story and your recipes." I almost dropped my phone. Turns out, Elise was legit. She'd seen the viral video and was scouting for a new series on real-life family food. Businesses with heart, drama, and flavor. Apparently, we checked all the boxes. She wanted to send a production team to shadow us for a pilot episode. I said, "Can I think about it?" She said, "You've got 48 hours. The next morning, I did what I always do when life throws me something wild. I made a new dish. It was a remix of Mom and Dad's original spicy curry chicken, but I added roasted garlic glaze and crushed red pepper flakes soaked in soy. I called it Firestarter. It sold out in 90 minutes. Jason came up with the idea to print handwritten homemade heartfelt on the side of the truck. Megan painted it herself, her brushstrokes as steady as they were when we were broke and just trying to survive. But not everyone was cheering us on. By Friday, a former Langston Foods VP leaked an internal memo online. Turns out, Richard had pushed the frozen fried chicken line through without a signed deal, banking on me giving in. He'd already greenlit packaging, bought freezer space in big-name stores, and even filmed promotional content. Without my recipe, everything collapsed. Investors pulled out. Executives resigned. Langston Foods stock dipped hard. Enough to make headlines in the business section. And Richard? Well, rumor had it he was trying to sell off his assets. Quietly, desperately. I didn't celebrate. Not really. I'd never wanted revenge, just respect. But then something wild happened. A delivery guy showed up at my food truck. No note, no signature, just a small box. Inside, a business card with the Langston Foods logo, and a handwritten note that said, "I was wrong, you were right, RL." I showed it to Megan, she laughed and tossed it in the trash. By the time the production crew rolled up in their black vans and designer hoodies, we were halfway through a lunch rush so wild we had to cut the line off 3 times. Elise, the Food Star producer, stepped out with aviator sunglasses and a clipboard, surveying our modest little operation like she'd just discovered gold buried under hot asphalt. "This is perfect," she said. "Rustic, emotional, grassroots. America's gonna eat this up." And she wasn't talking about the chicken, I'll admit. I was nervous. Not about the cameras, not even about the attention. I was nervous because this wasn't just my story anymore. This was about Megan, about Jason, about the legacy of 2 people who built something out of nothing, died too young, and left behind handwritten recipes as their only will. So I told Elise one thing. No fake drama, no manufactured tears. You want a story? We give you ours. Honest. She smiled. Even better. They filmed everything. Megan's careful calligraphy on the chalkboard menus. Jason cracking jokes while flipping chicken. Me burning a whole tray of garlic bread because I got distracted talking about Dad. They caught customers sharing stories, laughing over sandwiches, even a little kid who offered to trade his iPad for a second helping of curry. And just when things felt like they couldn't get any more surreal, boom. The mayor showed up. I had to try the viral chicken, he said, grinning for the cameras. Also, my daughter made me. He stayed for 30 minutes, posted a selfie with us on Instagram, and by the next morning we were on the front page of 2 local news sites and 1 national foodie blog titled "The Fried Chicken That Destroyed a CEO and Built a Family." Jason framed that headline. Megan made stickers of it. We slapped them on every takeout box for a week. That weekend, Elise sat down with me for an on-camera interview. She asked about my parents. about Megan, about Richard Langston's sabotage attempt, and the frozen chicken deal I walked away from. I kept it simple. I didn't choose revenge, I said. I chose respect. Respect for where I came from, who raised me, and what we built. That's something you can't freeze and shove into a microwave. The clip went viral before the show even aired. And while the internet was eating it up, Richard Langston was reportedly eating losses. Langston Foods was now in full tailspin. His board pushed him out as CEO. The new leadership issued a press release apologizing for a failed strategic direction based on unapproved intellectual property. Translation: Oops, we tried to steal a poor guy's recipe and got roasted. Then, I got another call. It wasn't Elise this time, it was Karen Lee, a corporate rep from a chain of high-end supermarkets. Alex, she said, we want to partner with you, not Langston. You. Whatever you want. Recipe control, packaging design, royalties. You keep it. We just want to be part of the Carter story. I asked her to give me a week. Not because I needed to think it through, but because I wanted to. Build something first. See, I had an idea. The food truck was great, but we were outgrowing it. Lines were insane. We were losing customers because of wait times. I couldn't keep burning garlic bread every time a camera showed up, so I sat Megan and Jason down. We need a second location, I said. Not a truck, a real place, a brick-and-mortar spot, small, cozy, but permanent. They were stunned. Are you serious? Megan asked, half crying, half laughing. I've never been more serious, I said. We found the perfect spot, 3 blocks from the original truck site. A tiny former bookstore with brick walls, big windows, and enough space for 12 tables and a proper kitchen. Rent wasn't cheap, but with Food Star's show generating buzz and the supermarket deal nearly locked in, I wasn't worried. Jason took lead on the branding. Megan started drafting menu boards. I called in Rico again, this time to help set up the LLC and legal structure. We worked day and night, painted walls ourselves, carried in tables one by one. Megan hand-wrote inspirational quotes from Mom and Dad onto the walls. Your handwriting reveals your heart. Opening day came faster than expected. People were already lining up an hour before we flipped the sign to open. The show hadn't even aired yet, but buzz had made its way into foodie circles across the state. Then, as if scripted, Megan's voice echoed from behind the counter. Welcome to Carter's Cravings. The line burst into applause, and somewhere in the middle of that crowd, quiet, unannounced, no cameras, was my late mother's best friend, Miss Jean. She walked up, tears in her eyes, and placed a single old photo on the counter. It was Mom. Dad, Megan, and me standing in front of the original food cart. I couldn't have been more than 10. Your parents, she whispered, would be so proud. I didn't cry. Not right away, but when I saw Megan holding that photo with both hands biting her lip to keep it together, yeah, I lost it. We didn't plan for things to explode the way they did. 1 week after we opened the cafe, no, scratch that, the first Carter's Cravings restaurant, the pilot episode of our story dropped on Food Star Plus. It hit like a thunderclap. Within 24 hours, the episode racked up 1.6 million views. Foodie influencers were posting reaction videos, dissecting every second. There was even a 10-minute YouTube breakdown titled, The Chicken Sandwich That Ended a $1 Billion Dynasty, and, yeah, it made me laugh. But it also reminded me, this wasn't about chicken. This was about truth. About a brother who refused to sell out his sister's dignity, a woman who rose from being labeled beneath them to running a business, people now traveled states to visit, and a man who believed handwritten menus and garlic stains meant more than contracts printed in gold ink. By Friday, we were sold out of chicken by noon. By Saturday, the Food Star crew came back. They'd been greenlit for a full season. You're a hit, Elise said, holding up her phone, already showing network stats. And execs want to expand the format. Other families, other cities, but you're the anchor. She looked at me, like I was some culinary Batman, and I won't lie, it felt good. But with success came a new knock at the door. This time it was a letter, certified mail, thick envelope, return address, Langston and Monroe, LLP. I opened it, half expecting some pathetic legal tantrum instead, a formal offer. Langston Foods had restructured. Richard Langston was out officially. The board had forced him into early retirement after the brand's PR disaster, and the company was bleeding. Now they were begging to buy in, but under my terms. They offered full recipe protection, total creative control, equity stake, merchandising rights, and a 7-figure upfront licensing deal. 7 figures. I stared at the number so long my coffee went cold. I took it to Megan and Jason. Jason raised his eyebrows. That's a lot of zeros. Megan looked at the letter like it was covered in oil stains. You're not actually considering this, right? I didn't answer right away, because truth is, I did consider it, for about 5 seconds. Then I remembered Richard Langston's face at the wedding. The smugness, the audacity, the cruelty. I'm not selling to the people who try to break us, I said. I'm building something they could never own. Megan nodded. Jason tore the letter in half. We moved on. Over the next few weeks, things only got wilder. A food magazine named Carter's Cravings Top 5 Must-Try Small Restaurants in America. A company in Tokyo emailed us about importing our spicy chicken glaze. And then the Smithsonian, yes, that Smithsonian, asked to feature Mom's original handwritten recipe notebook in an exhibit on American food culture. When I read that email, I sat down on the kitchen floor and just laughed. One of those deep, full-body laughs that feels like thunder and therapy at once. But not everything was perfect. Running a business that suddenly became a national brand overnight was exhausting. We worked 14-hour days. Jason handled back-end operations, Megan ran front of house, and I practically lived in the kitchen. There were moments I didn't see sunlight for days. And one night after everyone went home, I sat alone in the restaurant, staring at the photo of our parents taped to the cash register. I hope we're doing this right, I whispered. That's when I heard the bell above the door jingle. I looked up, startled. It was an older man, gray suit, worn face, familiar eyes. Richard Langston. He looked thinner, like the weight of everything had finally caught up to him. I saw the episode, he said, voice low. I had to come in person. I didn't move, didn't say a word. He placed a small box on the counter. I know I can't undo what I did at the wedding. I embarrassed myself. I disgraced my son. And I disrespected your family, but I brought this. I opened the box. Inside was one of the original frozen chicken packages his company had mocked up. Carter's Cravings branding, my name front and center. But on the back, in permanent marker, he'd written, I tried to own what I didn't. Understand. You won, Alex, fair and square. He turned to leave, paused. I lost my son that day. And I probably deserved it, but I wanted you to know. I see it now, what you built. What I tried to bury, it's real. And it's beautiful. He walked out into the night. I stood there holding the box, stunned. I didn't forgive him. Not then. Maybe not ever, but I knew one thing. He was finally telling the truth. The night Richard Langston walked out of my restaurant, something strange happened. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel pity. I felt done. Done needing validation. Done comparing myself to people who measured worth in degrees, dollars, and brand names. I realized something in that quiet moment. Under the fluorescent kitchen lights, holding a fake chicken box from a fake empire. We didn't just win. We redefined the game. 2 weeks later, Carter's Cravings made its debut in 5 boutique grocery stores across New York. Jason had been working behind the scenes with Karen Lee, the rep from the supermarket chain, finalizing deals for small batch sauces, ready-to-eat lunch kits, and yes, our signature fire starter chicken curry. Not mass-produced. Not frozen. Fresh, local, real. Everything Langston Foods claimed they would do for us. Except now, we owned it all. Megan cried when she saw the packaging, handwritten labels, her brush lettering on every box, our parents' names hidden in tiny script beneath the nutrition label, like a secret signature. 1 month later, we opened our second brick-and-mortar restaurant, this time in Philadelphia. The Food Star Plus docuseries had officially gone international, and Elise flew back in, practically vibrating with excitement. You've started something bigger than food, she told us. People are writing in from across the world. Mexico, Sweden, even Korea, asking how they can support your business. Jason leaned over the table and grinned. We might need a third location. But before we could even celebrate, the real bombshell hit. A reporter from the Wall Street Journal called. She was doing a story on Langston Foods' collapse. Wanted to interview us, not just as the people who stood up to corporate bullying, but as the ones who beat it. She sent us a PDF of her draft. The title? From Food Truck to Empire. How a Lunchbox Legend Toppled a Giant. The final paragraph quoted something I'd said during our interview. We never wanted to humiliate anyone, but we weren't going to apologize for existing. We just told our story, and people listened. That's the real recipe. When the article went live, it broke their website for 3 hours. That weekend, we threw a block party outside the original. Carter's Cravings truck, free food, local bands, handmade posters from school kids that read Chicken King and Team Megan. Jason grilled. Megan danced. I stood behind the counter, flipping garlic bread just like the old days. But the best part? My sister walked over, eyes shining, and said, "You gave me the life Mom and Dad wanted for us." I couldn't answer. I was too choked up. That night, just as the crowd started thinning, an older woman in a denim jacket and worn boots approached the truck. She looked familiar, but I couldn't place her until she spoke. "I used to buy from your dad," she said, "back when he sold sandwiches outside the construction yard. Your mom would hand me napkins with little notes written on them, Bible verses, jokes, recipes." She reached into her bag and pulled out a faded, grease-stained envelope. Inside? One of those napkins, my mom's handwriting still visible. "Even the smallest lunch can feed the biggest dreams." I stared at the words like they were lit on fire. Because they were. That moment sealed everything. It wasn't just about redemption anymore. It was about legacy. 3 months later, Jason surprised me with the biggest twist of all. He'd filed paperwork to legally change his last name. Not Langston. Not Carter. Smith. Our mom's maiden name. "This name built the business," he said. "This name stood up at that wedding and told the truth. It deserves to live on." I hugged him like a brother. Because he was more than that now. He was family. And, just when I thought the story couldn't take another turn, boom, Netflix called. Turns out someone from their development team saw our Food Star series, the Wall Street Journal piece, and that viral TikTok speech, and wanted to turn it into a limited scripted drama. Based on real events, they said. Starring actual actors, real script, real audience, and they wanted us on as consulting producers. Me, a food truck guy with calluses on his fingers, from frying chicken and scribbling sauce notes at 3 a.m., now sitting on Zoom calls with Hollywood agents talking about character arcs and Emmy potential. I almost laughed myself into a coma. We said yes. Why not? This wasn't some lucky break. This was 10 years of grief, grit, garlic, and guts turning into something no billionaire could ever buy. As we wrapped up filming the last episode of our documentary, Elise pulled me aside. "Do you realize you've become the American dream story?" she asked. I thought for a second. Then I looked across the lot, at Megan laughing with customers, at Jason showing a teen how to toss sauce, at our logo shining on a food truck under the New York sun. And I said, "No, we're not a dream story. We're what happens when the underdog stops apologizing and starts cooking." Boom, roll credits. That's the end of today's story. Did things turn out the way you thought, or were there some surprises along the way? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you haven't joined the community yet, now's the perfect time. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you're always the first to catch new stories. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next adventure.